All right, so after a little discussion, I have a lot of people that could not make it either on Zoom or face to face because of work. But I'm hoping if we move the class to 5 to 6:45, 5 to 6:45 will be the time because some people have classes at 7. Everybody will be able to make it to class either on Zoom or in person. Because theories is one of those classes, yeah, it's a lot of research and activities that you do on your own, but I'm hoping you'll also be writing with a partner. And I think it's just a lot better working with a partner if you're in the same place, even if it's on Zoom. Because this would be an awful lot to write by oneself. But I mean, you can do it. You can choose to write this project by yourself, but you could also write it with a partner. So it's really up to you. But this gives people time to work together, whether it's in person or on Zoom, and you'll be doing enough projects and research outside of class that you'll definitely make up for that delay coming here at 5. So that's going to be the first plan. We are going to do an icebreaker, but I'm not going to record it. We're going to do that last, and we're not going to record it. Let's see. Let me tell you a little bit about myself and the class. Some of you have me for like 3 classes this semester. This is getting old. So one of the interesting things is I never took statistics or computer systems analysis as a major, analysis as a major. But when I was in high school back in 1982 to 1984, they came out with the very first personal computers. And so I got to be in a lab, got to learn some language, how to use basic things, and learned PC-DOS and Apple-DOS, and got me started. Then I got a job at a computer store and learned how to build them, repair them, use all kinds of software programs and languages. And so anytime I was at college, they usually gave me a graduate assistantship to work on the computers or some project that some professor had. Usually, what those professors needed was help with a statistical program. And so I just had the opportunity to learn all the statistical programs as a grad assistant as I was going through my various degrees. So it was never really a goal of mine. But with that, working with different professors on these statistical programs, I not only learned the statistics and the program or how to input all the statistics, but they taught me about research as I used the program for them. So it was a really nice learning experience. Not everybody's cup of tea, but you know, it came in very handy, especially when I needed to, you know, use these programs for my own project. So just to give you an idea, one of the very first computer programs was called IBM Statistics. And I had sold my Apple IIe and bought an IBM XT, and I was in my dorm room and I was running some stats for one of the professors. And normally I'd have the formulas typed in, which we don't even have to do today, and I'd hit enter, and we'd go to dinner. And after we had dinner and coffee, I'd come back to the dorm room, and hopefully it had figured out the equation. So my second year of grad school, I did the same thing, only I had built what you call an AT, a 286. And we were all ready to go to dinner. I'm like, wait, I'm almost done. And I hit the button, and we all were walking out the door, and I heard a beep, and it was done. We just couldn't believe how fast the computer had completed the statistical equation for the research. And I just think it's kind of interesting that we can do so much now. Now, you're not going to learn a lot of statistics in this course, but we are going to learn the process of doing research properly. And we're going to do a research project that will take us all the way up to designing the measurements and how to run it, and the lit review and everything else. We're just not actually going to run the study. So sigh of relief, don't have to do that. But you could if you wanted to. So I think we're learning enough that, you know, if you wanted to do research, you could. And we stopped right before basically running surveys or doing qualitative interviews or something like that. I think when you combine this course with assessment, you'll learn enough of the statistics and processes to pass that section of the comps and the NCE. It's those two courses that go together. It's assessment, which is tests and measurements, and research, which mainly teach you the process and the vocabulary, like what's reliability, what's validity, things like that. Things that might have a multiple choice question on the comps. I also put together some notes for you that you can study from for those larger exams. Yeah, so I think that's the broad overview. My philosophy of teaching, if I can, is I want everybody to learn the basic material, what I think is the minimal amount of material to learn to pass the course. I wish all of our courses were pass-fail, because I really don't want to send a student out to work with a client that got a B. I want them to know what I think is the minimum amount of material to understand in order to work with clients or to work in research or whatever it might be. So that's called mastery learning. And the way it works is that you get to keep rewriting things, retrying things until you master the minimum amount of knowledge in each of the subjects covered in this course. So for instance, if you write part of your lit review, we're all going to edit them together, and you can make the corrections. I might say you have some things missing, and you'll go out and research them and add them to the lit review. So yeah, it's going to take a village, but you don't just pass in an assignment, I give you a grade, and that's it. You're stuck with it. You get to keep revising it and adding to it until you have what you need. And in my mind, it's not just that you're handing in what you need. In my mind, you understand what you need to know for this subject. So you have mastered that knowledge. So that's the goal, and whatever it takes to get there, that's what we'll do. I think the only things that I can't have you redo are like things you hand in on the last day of class. Like you're going to hand in kind of like maybe a PowerPoint presentation presenting everything you did. You hand in your final project, your final completed paper. I can't have you redo them after the last class just because we're out of time and grades will be due. But you should have them pretty refined by that point. The good thing in this class is I'm really not one for like multiple choice tests or exams. I'm more a project oriented person. So that should take a little stress away, along with, being allowed to redo something that you've handed in and add to it as needed. So hopefully, I know a lot of counseling students are a little anxious about research because they know there's some stats, there's some vocabulary. Maybe they've never done such a long research project, but hopefully this will lower some of the anxiety coming into this class. And you'll feel more like, yeah, we're all going to work together on this. We want you to succeed. And, I think the only reason a student has maybe not gotten an A is that, they didn't actually do the work. They didn't actually hand in the work or rewrite the work. So as long as you keep working at it, you'll do fine. It's only when you don't actually do the work, then there's nothing I can do to help you with that. You actually have to try and you actually have to complete the work. And this is a lot of work. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a lot of work for this class. One of the other things that I want to share, which is kind of neat. So I have, over the years, the last 23 years, I've had a lot of students who, they might want to go on and get a doctorate at some point after they graduate from here. Well, everybody who wants to do a doctorate, they might try to do a thesis. This university is really not big on theses because a lot of people start them and they don't finish them and then they don't graduate on time and it lowers their grade point average. So we don't really do theses. And even if you did do a thesis, everybody does a thesis. So how would you be set apart from everybody else who applies to a doctoral program? So, I don't really recommend doing a thesis in grad school if you want to get into a doctoral program. It's just, you won't stand out. And there are, hey, let's admit it, I love CalU. I went to Shippensburg University. If I didn't love this school, I wouldn't be teaching here. But, I've kind of made it my life's work and I really enjoy it. And I enjoy the students. But there are a lot more famous school names out there. People might think they're more prestigious or whatever. I did fine with Shippensburg University. But here's the trick. What will set you apart if you want to go into a doctoral program is presenting at a state or national conference and publishing your work at a state or national, in a state or national journal. And you'll need to work with a professor to do that. However, A lot of our professors are interested in these different topics. So me and a couple other students just sent in an article to the Journal of the Pennsylvania Counseling Association Journal. So that's a nice state journal, peer reviewed. So then when you apply to the doctoral program, and they always request a writing sample, you're handing them a publication or a presentation from a national conference rather than a paper you wrote in one of your classes. Now, the reason I'm getting at this is a lot of the students that do that use the research that they do in this class. That's what I'm leading up to. So if you're interested in eventually going and getting a doctorate, you may want to pay special attention to the research that you do in this class. And please let me know if that's one of your plans, because there are some other things we can do with it to make it a little more, give it a higher chance of actually being accepted for publication or a presentation at a state or national conference. Let's see what else. I'm just thinking generalities that I'm talking about generalities that I'm talking about rather than the syllabus. So let's see. So I gave you the mastery learning, turn it in whenever you, again, a second time. Gave you the thing about dissertation and if you want to get into a doctoral program. Gave you a little bit about my history. We're gonna get to know each other last. We're not gonna record that. Fritz, we've moved the class to 5 o'clock so that people don't have to rush from work. You're not the only one. Okay. All right. Any questions about that before we look at D2L and the syllabus? Is anybody interested in going on and getting a doctorate? All right.
I am.
Okay. So we should think about that, while you went from the beginning, when you all pick a topic, basically. So the easiest thing to do is present at a state conference and then maybe submit something to a state journal. So that would definitely be worthwhile. So putting in a little extra work in this class, you would definitely have something that you'd be able to either present or submit. All right, and since a few of you are interested in it, at some point after class sometime, we could talk about what kind of programs might be good. A lot of students don't really understand what the difference between PsyD, clinical psych, counselor ed and supervision, things like, they don't understand the difference between the various degrees. So we can talk about that. So you don't apply to the wrong one. And yeah, that'll give us something to talk about later. I did email Ryan Sittler. He's a librarian at the library, and he always helps the counseling classes with their research. So he hasn't gotten back to me, but at some point over the next few weeks, I will send out an email to you and it'll say either meet in the library or he'll come to this class or meet on Zoom with Brian Sittler. And he's going to help you to use our specific library and its search engine to find refereed counseling journals for your subject, how to refine your subject. And he does it a little differently than I do. So the other class, I'm going to show you how I do research and find articles and such like that. So we do it differently, but we end up with some similar results. But I'll send an email out when we're meeting with him. Okay, let's look at, I'm going to pull it up on both these screens. So it has a lot of different weeks here. Most of them are just Dropbox. I have most of the information under week 1. Get it on this 2. All right, so everybody should be able to see it. So because we have a KCREP visit for accreditation in September, we all use the same syllabus. So we have a syllabus template for each class. I'm allowed making some changes, which I did. Unfortunately, the templates for the syllabi have a few more assignments than I like to use for the class. So let's see what's going on for our syllabus. Here's our research class notes. So these are the same notes I used to study for the comps and the NCE. I just had a grad assistant type them up. So you could definitely use these as a study guide. I don't know how long they are.
Here we can see what you're seeing, Brad.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I got 2 computers going here. That's fine. But yeah, click on the notes and hopefully they'll be helpful to you. Okay, syllabus. So it's your typical syllabus. Let's talk about the book first. So every course, but especially this one, says to use the APA Psychological Association publication manual. And, but if you look lower on the syllabus, like way down, I put links on there. Now, these links might not be perfect. Yeah. But the Purdue one, OWL, that's probably the best known link to help you with APA guidelines. So if you type in all the information for, or paste in all the information for a journal article, and you click APA, it'll come close. It won't be perfect, but it'll come close to giving you kind of a reference. for that. So just some shortcuts for that. So the book itself is Hauser, and you can buy the second, third, or fourth edition. Don't buy the first edition, but you can buy second, third, or fourth. And stats don't really change. So the first one was a little primitive. It doesn't have all the information in it. But you can definitely save some money buying the second or third edition of this book. And like I always say, if you go to Amazon and you buy an earlier edition of the book and save a bunch of money, let's say the book's $20 used, pay for fast shipping so you get the book, you know? And you can go buy the brand new book as well if you want. But second, third, or fourth edition, they're all good. They're all about the same. I think there's only one chapter different. The other books, one's the APA guideline, and then supplemental reading that I apply. So, it's really one book that you need, and you can buy one of the older editions. All right. So we have learning objectives. Those are kind of, hey, this is what you're going to learn in class for K-Crep. My goal, to put it in my own words, is you're going to learn how to read an article and understand it. You're going to learn how to do research on a topic using our library, our online library, and choose what are appropriate and professional journal articles. You'll be able to read those journal articles and apply them to the topic. And you'll be able to come up with some new and unique concepts that you'd like to measure yourself. That's the hardest part, coming up with a new idea. But we'll talk more about that later. All right, these are more K-Crep guidelines that we're required to put in the form of a rubric. You can read them on your own. Here's the thing, if you use inclusive access, you may be able to get that book for a cheaper price. You can check it out. Tavera, of course, we'd like all of our students to have Tavera. I believe Dr. Locke is in charge of Tavera now, and she sent out an email today about getting Tavera. But if you don't have Tavera, you can contact her and she'll send an invitation that you can buy Tavera. Okay. So speaking of Tavera, every class has something that you would upload to Tavera at the end of the class. The first thing is a paragraph about what you gained from the class. Now, this is not an evaluation of the class. That's something different. This is about you. This is about what you get from the class. And so even if it's a horrible class, even if this is not your thing, you can glean something positive from a class and write one paragraph about it. Maybe it's a chapter you liked in the book, So the second thing you're going to upload is, I believe, I would have wanted you to upload your final paper, but I believe they want you to upload your article critique because there's a specific K-Crep requirement for that. Okay, so this is our standard grading structure for the department. And, but like I said, my goal is for you to get an A, not for the grade, but because I want you to understand the material. So, you know, you get to keep rewriting things until I feel you understand the material up until the last day of class. All right. All right, so here's some of the assignments. There's a plagiarism model that you have to take, and they do try to trick you on questions. You know, it's a little crazy. Uh, there may be some discussion boards, we'll see, but there's no grade. The journal article critique, the lit review, a research design, a needs assessment, and the final written article. So, or rubrics. Okay, so this is our schedule. And it's pretty simple. I normally don't teach from a book, but in this class I do. Because it's usually teaching about some type of statistical or qualitative method. So I do teach from the book. So you should be reading the chapters that are listed here. Now, a lot of times the chapters, if you have a different edition, the chapters might be a little different, but you can tell that basically, you know, ethics and research, that's the title of a chapter. Cultural issues in research, that's a title of a chapter. So, you know, I would go by the name of the title rather than the number of the chapter, especially if you get an older edition or the brand new edition. I think I used edition 3 for this. So go by the title of the chapter, not just the chapter number. All right, so if you look at this semester outline, you'll notice that next week, we're going to be coming up with topics for references, article review, and literature review. That just means you're going to come up with a topic that you want to research early. Because we're going to start researching this when we see Ryan Sittler in the library. And that'll either be next week or the week after, I'm guessing. He just hasn't gotten back to me yet. So it would be great if you had, I would say, 2 or 3 topics that you'd like to research. Now, let me give you some ideas here. I would not research a topic of a diagnosis that you or a family member had. So you know a lot about it, but it's also a little triggering, you know? So I would not make the topic too personal. I would not, if you've experienced trauma, I would not research trauma. So don't let the topic hit too close to home. I would research a topic that has to do with a population that you want to work with as a counselor. So that when you do begin to work with that population, you'll know a little more about the subject and how to treat that population. And, you know, maybe some of the newest techniques and things like that. So that's kind of my recommendation. Not too close to home. Consider a population you want to work with, and maybe you'll find some new and innovative research on that subject. I would like you to be able to use your research with future clients. So, I mean, why spend a whole class researching and writing and not be able to use that information? So next week, bring to class your possible topics and have 2 or 3 possible topics, and we will refine them. One of the ways we're going to refine those topics is in undergrad, you would write a paper about a subject, and you would write about what everybody else did. In this, you're going to try to come up with a new modality of treatment. So you could either have a completely new idea that's all your own, or you can combine some modalities or or you might combine some treatment programs to come up with a more comprehensive treatment plan. But your idea should be about some new way of treatment for a specific client population. That's the goal. You know, there's no use writing about something that's already been discovered. Why? Why write about something that somebody else did? You're in grad school. It's time to contribute some new ideas. But I think that's going to be one of the big differences about how you write this project. You're really not just writing about what other people did. You're writing about your own idea and what you plan to do and why it would be helpful. Why would it benefit these clients? How is it different than what's been done before? And that's the trick. That's the tough part, coming up with something a little new. So that's the spin you have to take. All right, and then so that's the goal for next week. The third week, the plagiarism modules due, and there is a little write-up on that. Let's see. This is Title IX, and students with disabilities, of course, will accommodate you any way you need. Just go to the office for students with disabilities. Class attendance, try to attend. There's also a thing on integrity. Yeah, integrity. So, yeah, I mean, we do check using Turnitin to see, you know, how much has been copied from other material. You need to put things into your own words. We're not quoting long paragraphs here. You know, quote a sentence or two. Other than that, put it in your own words and cite it. I'd rather you put it in your own words. It's easy cutting and pasting somebody else's word. AI for research class. This is such a unique topic, coming up with a brand new original idea. I think AI would be immediately recognized, but I might be wrong. They might be getting better. All right, but it does have to be your work. All right, so There may be a couple online discussion boards so far. I haven't done it myself, but we'll see. I'm not a big fan of them unless it's in the summer. So, okay, so here's the plagiarism module. This is the link. When you click on that link, I guess you got to register. It's free. And you run through all these slideshows, teaches you about plagiarism and how not to plagiarize. Then you take a quiz at the end of each section. And the questions are a little tricky. So just fair warning there. And then when you're done, you should have a certificate that says you passed. And we'll have a place for you to upload that certificate. Show proof that you passed. So let's do week 3. All right. We're going to go over all these when the assignment comes near. Right now, I don't want you to think about the entire project. I just want you to think about a topic. Like, who do you want to help? How do you want to help them as a future counselor? So that's the main thing. So I'm not going to go over the whole lit review or how to do an article review. First things first. First thing we're going to do is pick a topic and refine it with you. But I do have an entire outline here of the research design proposal, and you can go step by step. And this could actually be your outline for the paper. It would be okay to use this outline for the paper. More rubrics. It's a lot in this course. This is something that I never did before for this class. I taught it, but we did a needs assessment in the intro to school counseling, but I guess they want all of our students, clinical mental health and school counseling, to do a needs assessment. So we'll talk about that the week before it's due. And the only reason it's in there is because it's a K-Prep assignment. You kind of got to prove that you know how to do a needs assessment. We'll take this step by step, week by week, so you're not overwhelmed. All right. Let's see. So let's look at the rest of D2L. All right, so research class notes, you can just download them. Research final paper outline, that's basically gives you each section to the final paper in outline form. I did give you an example of a student's final paper. What should one look like? And so Kayla Benzio agreed to share this with you. She presented this at the Pennsylvania Counseling Association and had a nice crowd. And this is a good example of what we're looking for the paper. In case you're wondering, what should this paper look like? And she had a little handout to go with the paper. And that is her model. So that's the model that she developed to treat PTSD. So you can take some time and check those out. It's always nice to have a sample, I think. There's some other stuff on here. So I uploaded some of my own publications, not because of the topic, but just so you could see the differences. So for instance, ethics in pastoral counseling, proof editing. So this shows what a proof looks like for an edit that I would receive back from a publisher. And this is a different one. One's for a book, one's for a journal. So you can see the difference between a book and a journal. And then you can see what it looks like in APA style. So I gave it to you kind of what I submitted in APA style, and then I gave it to you what I got back from the publisher after it had been approved. So you can kind of see both ends of the publication process. The last thing I gave you was my dissertation. Not because I want you to read my dissertation, but because it's good APA style. It might be an older version of APA, but honestly, the best way I learned APA was by looking at other people's papers who used APA. So I like using examples rather than reading instruction. So yeah, it might be 1 or 2 editions old, but it's pretty close to good APA format. Some of the things it does well is like, there's a lot of like tables and charts and things like that in it. And it shows you how to cite them and list them in a table of contents and things like that. So it's some more technical stuff, really. All right, that's everything I uploaded for tonight. Hopefully, you're not feeling too overwhelmed yet. And we will take this week by week, step by step. And hopefully it won't feel too overwhelming. Okay, so I think the first thing that we'll do is try to make some, well, maybe we'll do it next week since we'll have more people here. So think about who you want to be your partner, or if you just want to do this by yourself, either one's okay. But next week, we'll designate partners, and or if you want to do it by yourself, and we'll come close to what your topic's going to be. So that's going to be our goal for next week's class. And then I'll also start lecturing on whatever that chapter is for next week. All right. So I am going to stop recording, and then we're just going to do a little icebreaker. And that'll be it for the night.